Today is a Telangana Formation Day. Again, I welcome him, and he has spared his time in spite of busy schedule. Thank you, Sarat. Please go ahead. Now, you just go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Rajkumar, for your kind words about me. In fact, it has been a pleasure to be associated with Rajkumar since 1988. We have been friends for a long time. And when he asked me to deliver a lecture, I said that, okay, that would be my privilege and pleasure. Good morning, everyone. Scientists from PDP and other ICR institutes. I think there are scientists from other institutes as well, apart from PDP. I hope I am audible, right?
Right. Go ahead. It's audible.
Yeah. So, friends, I thought he has given me actually a choice of topics. So I thought of speaking something on precision farming. And as poultry scientists, you are all well aware about the technologies, innovative technologies that are being used by the farmers and industry in improving the productivity of the animals and improving the profitability of the farms. So I thought I'll speak something on precision dairying. And friends, Indian dairy journey, to say the least, it has been fascinating. From a country which was milk deficit not long ago to a country which is milk surplus, it has been a phenomenal growth, and achieving a growth rate in excess of 6% per annum. Hats off to all the scientists, all the animal husbandry officers, and also the farmers who have made this possible. And today, we stand in a position where we are the largest producer of milk and milk products. We are also the largest consumer of milk and milk products. So I, as a student and also as a teacher, have witnessed all this from probably some 100, 150 or 160 grams per capita availability to growing to 406 grams of per capita milk availability is it itself is a tremendous achievement. And apart from that, dairy industry plays a great role in socio-economic development as well. It's probably one of the largest employment generating activity in the country. And milk, is the single largest agricultural commodity, surpassing even paddy and wheat. It has surpassed paddy and wheat long time back, and it continues to dominate as the single largest agricultural commodity, and contributing immensely in terms of GDP. The contribution towards growth in agriculture. So dairy industry holds a lot of promise. And having said that, in spite of all the achievements that we boast of in dairy sector, there are certain areas where there's a lot of improvement that can be done, like productivity of animals in our country is still extremely low as compared to our Western counterparts, or sometimes even our Middle Eastern counterparts like Israel and all. We lag behind in terms of productivity. Our average productivity of cow could be somewhere around 1400 to 1500 kgs as compared to about 5000 to 6000 kgs in case of Western countries or even in Israel. And if you take our nondescript or the indigenous cows into consideration, it's still low. So the system of production that we have in our country is what we call is production by masses, not mass production. Whereas in the Western parts of the world and other countries like even down under New Zealand and Australia, the production is mass production. Like you have huge farms. The size of the farms, average size could be about 500 to 600 animals, whereas average size of the farms in our country is hardly 4 to 5 animals. So in a sense, we can say that this is production by masses, but whereas there it's mass production. And these days we have a lot of irrigation facilities that are coming up, and dairying used to be a great source of revenue generation, great source of income to the farmers in the non-command areas or the dry areas where irrigation facilities were not available. But of late, we have seen that even in a state like Telangana, irrigation facilities have improved like anything. And as a consequence of which, there is a great expansion of agriculture, and the result of which is the animals are not having enough grazing lands. Even the grazing lands that we have, they are degraded. Most of the land is being converted to agriculture. So going forward, there might be a scenario where even we might be forced to switch to mass production, that is large sized farms coming up in the near future. This system of integrated farm where agriculture and dairying went together, there might be a change going forward. And it is in this context that the focus needs to be shifted to precision, what do you call, technologies need to be adopted by the farmers, because as the scale, as the magnitude goes up, it will be very difficult for a farm manager or for a farmer to manage animals. We need to go for automation, like what you have witnessed even in poultry. So that automation is very much required even in the dairy sector going forward. And this automation will be aided by many sensor-based technologies that are being that are being given by many industries from time to time. Every year, latest technologies are coming up to make dairy industry, dairy farming efficient enterprise in terms of feed optimization, in terms of profitability, in terms of productivity, in terms of management of stress, in terms of disease prevention, in terms of reproductive performance. So all these are aided by some of the technologies. And precision dairy farming is it's nothing but use of technologies to measure physiological, behavioral, and
హలో అదేమో వస్తలేదు చూడు, సౌండ్ వస్తుంది.
ఇప్పుడు వచ్చిందా?
రైట్, ఓకే, నౌ గో అహెడ్. మీ అక్కడ నెట్ ఏమో ఇష్యూ ఉన్నది.
Yeah. So, am I audible?
Go ahead, sir.
Hello.
I'm
audible, right?
Audible. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was speaking about precision dairy farming as I was speaking. So the concept of group management of animals may be reversed with precision dairy farming come into the picture, and focus shifts to the individual cow or individual buffalo. So the main objective of precision dairy farming is to ensure maximum productivity of the individual animals through various measures to improve the productivity and profitability of a dairy enterprise. For example, estrus detection. So one heat missed in dairy cow that will reduce the reproductive performance of the animal. 18 to 24 days, valuable days are lost. So the adoption of technologies wherein even silent heat can be detected, because most of the animals come into heat in the early hours, and it's very difficult manually to detect animals in heat at that point of time. So these sensor-based technologies will detect the animals in heat based just on some indicators like changes in the body temperature, changes in the animal activity. Also, they will give a message to the farmer that the animal is coming to heat. So a missed heat will cause severe economic loss to the farmer. So similar kind of technologies, there are so many technologies that are available, can be adopted by the farmers to improve their productivity and profitability. So if you permit me, I'll just try to share a PowerPoint presentation on this.
Sharat, share your slides.
అదే షేర్ ఏమంటావు?
Slides share చేసి
అదే దట్స్ వాట్ ఐఎమ్ డూయింగ్. షేర్ ఎక్కడ పోవాలి ఇది?
షేర్ స్క్రీన్ అని ఉంటుంది.
షేర్ స్క్రీన్ అయినా?
షేర్ ప్రజెంటేషన్ ఓపెన్ చేయి ఫస్ట్. ఓపెన్ చేసి దెన్ షేర్
షేర్ స్క్రీన్ లో ఇక్కడ ఏమి డెస్క్టాప్
ప్రజెంటేషన్ ఓపెన్ చేయి ఫస్ట్.
ఓకే రైట్, ఐ విల్ డూ దట్ ఫస్ట్. లెట్ మీ డూ. Is it visible now?
No. Now it's okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Right. Okay. So as I
slide show lo petalsindi.
Huh?
Slide show. Now the normal mode, slide show mode.
Right?
Right. Now okay. Go ahead.
Vastunda? Okay. So precision dairy farming, as I said, it can be defined as a use of technologies to optimize the contribution from each animal. So this is what, in simple terms, we can call this as focus on individual animals. And by taking a per animal approach, the farmer can deliver better results in terms of higher quantities, better quality, or more sustainable farming methods. As I've already said, there are so many things that can be taken up with these sensors, like heat detection, early disease detection, optimizing feed efficiency, and optimizing the profitability of the farm, and monitoring for rumination. All these things can be done with sensor-based technologies. So if you go back to how these things evolved over a period of time, individual cow IDs were developed as early as 1970s, and in the 90s, sensors for disease detection were developed, and automatic milking came into force in the 1990s. And these sensors were not in use for a long time, but again, people thought of what do you call testing the efficiency of these sensors, be it in heat detection or be it in disease detection, and the sensors were revived in the 2000s, and in 2010s we have new generation of sensors. So here you can see what we call a collar will be there around the cow, and this collar is very important in detecting everything and anything that is related to cow, in detecting its temperature, in detecting its rumination, in detecting its even rumen pH. You can go to the extent of even measuring the rumen pH. So this is what we call the sensor-based technologies, and this is what it's like the Fitbit that you wear, which monitors your activity on a day-to-day basis on how many steps you have covered at all. So this is kind of a Fitbit for cows. So current trends, if we speak of the worldwide trends, what is going on is, as I have already tried to say, that going forward, we might not be having so many farms. Less farms with more number of animals could be a viable proposition in the future. That is what I have put it on the slide. Less number of farms with increased farm size, because with less number of animals, it may not be viable anymore going forward. So that could be a trend going forward. And milk production increases per cow or buffalo per labor unit or per farm. So as the size of the farm increases, the number of labors. If say, for example, if you have uh, about 100 animals, you take about 5 labors, and if you have 500 animals, probably you can manage with 10 animals. So the labor to animal efficiency also goes up with increasing farm size. And going forward, we might be forced to think whether cows and buffaloes managed in groups, whether they're viable, or whether they're economical and all. So we'll be forced to think. These are some of the trends that are occurring across the world. And like we, all of us have problem with livestock industry in general, and even with the dairy animals or even poultry, you have this animal well-being is one of the most important thing with animal rights coming into the picture. So animal well-being is one of the most important thing that needs to be taken into consideration when we start a farm. And consumer demand also. Consumer demand is also going up nowadays with increasing incomes, with rising incomes. The consumer is also very much interested in getting a quality product. So that consumer demand has to be taken into consideration. And environment is one important thing these days, especially ruminants. When we speak of ruminants and when we speak of climate change, there are so many findings which say that the methane that is emitted from the ruminants, especially the large ruminants, is one of the major reasons for global climate change that we observe. So that also needs to be taken into consideration, how to reduce the methane emissions, how methane emissions can be recorded. All these things also need to be taken into consideration. And labor availability is getting problematic over a period of time, especially if we take dairy industry into consideration. If you go to any village and ask what do you call a young chap whether he wants to take up dairy, then they think that is a menial job. That's not a job that he will be more than willing to work in a mobile shop in the nearing town, but not take up dairy farming or integrate it with his agriculture and all. So that they consider nowadays these people are considering it as to menial job. So automation has to come into dairy, and economics also need to be taken into consideration. These are some of the current demands of the dairy. And the consumer focus is on continuous quality assurance, and there is a great shift to natural or organic foods, greenhouse gas reductions, as I was speaking about, and zoonotic disease transmission. See, brucellosis, diseases like brucellosis, which are zoonotic in nature, are very dangerous. So consumers are concerned with transmission of zoonotic diseases and reducing the use of medical treatments. So we speak a lot of antimicrobial resistance, and minimizing the use of antimicrobials will be the order of the day. So that is possible only with early detection of the diseases that will reduce. A sign is given by the animal that probably it will be unwell if we use these sensor-based technologies, and that will help in minimizing the use of medications. That will not only safeguard the health of the consumers, but also reduce the cost of production and increased emphasis on well-being. These are some of the points on which consumers try to focus these days. And we are in an era where unlimited data is available. So it's up to the farm manager, it's up to the farmer to see how this data can be analyzed and used to improve the productivity and profitability of the enterprise. We are getting a lot of faster computers which allow for more sophisticated on-farm data mining, and technologies adopted in larger industries have application in smaller industries as well. Now coming to what are the challenges that we are likely to face as far as dairy is concerned is finding dairy animals in heat. This is one major problematic area because once, as I said, one of the important metrics of the is percentage of the heifers and cows that become pregnant during the breeding season is an important indicator. And if we temperature, activity, and ruminations are key indicators for detecting the estrus in the cows, and manually tracking these metrics is accurately is not practical. And algorithms work 24/7 and 365 days a year to make detection of the estrus very easy. And high reproduction percentage means the cows or buffaloes remain in lactation for longest time during their lifetime. So this is very important. Finding dairy animals in heat is an important challenge, and I think these new next gen sensors, I can say, next gen sensors will help in detecting the animals in heat. And finding and treating of lame cows. Again, this is one important problematic area as far as dairying is concerned, especially when dairying is done with high yielding Holstein Friesian cows. Finding and treating lame cows is very important. So based on their activity, this lameness is detected at an early stage, and interventions can be taken up to prevent lameness in the cows. And finding and treating cows in mastitis. You all know well that mastitis is a very important disease from the economic point of view. There's huge loss to the farmers on account of mastitis, not just in terms of the milk that is lost on account of mastitis, but also the treatment that is incurred on mastitis, and also the impact mastitis has on the udder and subsequent lactations. So these are all some of the things. So adoption of these sensor-based technologies will definitely help in detecting mastitis in early stages. The mastitis is detected based on the even electrical conductivity of the milk. That also somatic cell counts, electrical conductivity of the milk. All these things will be possible if we use these technologies. And catching sick animals in early lactation. Post parturient complications are very dangerous and very what do you call? They have high impact on the profitability of the animals. So catching sick animals in early lactation is also possible if we use these sensor-based technologies. And understanding the nutritional status of the dairy animals, whether the production is commensurating with the feed intake, whether the body condition, whether the animal is fat or thin, and the rumen health, how the rumen health with regard to pH, with regard to rumination. So these are some of the animal challenges. So these are the areas that need to be monitored in a dairy cow. Body condition score, whether the cow is fat or thin, and what is the milk production, milk content, what is their mobility of that is very important detection. As I said, lameness or problems with the hooves, and whether the animal udder is in normal condition or not, whether there is any swelling, whether there is any hardness, whether there is any increase in the temperature of the udder. All these things can be detected by using these sensors, and these are some of the vital signs that are monitored by these next gen sensors, like the heart rate, the chewing activity, the respiration, even the methane emission can also be measured. What is the feed intake, what is the temperature, what is the rumination, and how many times it's ruminating, what is the rumen pH. So all these things, and lying and standing behavior, all these things can be recorded using these next gen sensors. So what kind of technology should be there? What is the technology which we call as ideal precision dairy farming technology? So that the technology should be able to explain in the underlying biological process, and based on the data that you get, it should be translated into meaningful action. And this technology should also be low cost. At the end, economics matters. So it should be low cost, it should be flexible, robust, and reliable, and information should be readily available to the farmers. And farmers, it's better always that rather than technology being thrown at the farmer, if we can make him the stakeholder in developing the technology at all stages of development, the chances of that technology being successful will be very high. And commercial demonstrations needs to be given, and continuous improvement and feedback loops. So this is how technology needs to be developed so that it will be ideal. So in mastitis detection, as I said, there are exciting precision dairy farming applications, and these technologies may increase likelihood of bacteriological cure, may reduce the duration of pain associated with mastitis, may reduce the likelihood of transmission of mastitis between the cows, may prevent the infection from becoming chronic, and potential to separate abnormal milk automatically. So what are the challenges in mastitis detection? Meeting sensitivity and specificity goals, calibration across times, automatic diversion or alert, recommended action when an alert occurs with no clinical signs. Multivariate systems provide best results, and costs also have to be taken into consideration when we go for detection of the mastitis. These are some of the challenges that we are likely to face in mastitis detection. So as I said, the electrical conductivity is one feature that is taken into consideration when detecting mastitis by these sensors. And so what is electrical conductivity? Ion concentration of the milk changes, increasing electrical conductivity. It is an inexpensive and simple equipment of measuring electrical conductivity. So, and it has a wide range of sensitivity, and specificity is reported, affected by sample time, milk viscosity, temperature, and sensor calibration. And results improved with water level sensors. Improved results with recent algorithms, most useful when combined with other metrics. So though physically observation will tell you whether the animal is suffering from mastitis or not, but changes in the electrical conductivity of the milk will definitely indicate whether the animal is likely to develop mastitis or it has already developed mastitis. So this electrical conductivity is one important thing. Even by detecting the milk color, also mastitis can be detected. Color variation, red, blue, and green sensors in some automatic milking systems. So sensors are there in some milking systems. They are incorporated, and they can sense the mastitis based on the color variations. Reddish color indicates blood. Clinical mastitis may change color patterns for 3 colors, and specificity of this is not very high. It could be limited. And core body temperature monitoring. This is the thermography. Many of you might have heard about this. So, core body temperature monitoring has a promise as a mastitis detection tool. Not all cases of mastitis result in temperature response. Best location to collect temperature has to be identified. What is the best area? Whether it's udder, whether it's a back, whether it's a rectal temperature, or that needs to be defined, well defined to detect mastitis. And this is the thermography that I have been speaking about. So automatic analysis software uses advanced algorithms to detect developing mastitis in thermal images of cow udders. So people are, it's not that this technology is not being used. This technology is being used in many of the farms with great success in detecting mastitis in the initial stages. So thermography is one thing which has come up in a big way, and it is going to stay, and it will definitely help in so many things, not just detection of the mastitis. It will help in so many other things. And it may be limited because not all cases of mastitis result in temperature, as I have already said, and difficulty in collecting images at field level. But again, in advanced farms where the farm size is big and all, they can afford to have this thermography. Then one more way of detecting mastitis is automated California mastitis test. The CellSense is a company in New Zealand, and they do this, and they have correlation with for somatic SCC, that is somatic cell count, and using fuzzy logic, success rates and false alerts when combined with easy were reasonable. But again, cost is one important thing that needs to be taken into consideration. So this is somatic cell values. So if it is more than 2 million, then you can say that it's it works like a traffic light, giving red signal, yellow signal based on somatic cell count. So if it is less than 2 lakhs, somatic cell count means it's fairly in a what do you call below the normal levels. That milk is safe to be consumed, and the animal is healthy. That is an indication that the animal is healthy. And anything above that, then there is a reason to be concerned. And automate what do you call farm manager may have to intervene and do something to reduce the somatic cell counts. This is another equipment that has come out that is called as Mastiline, which uses ATP luminescence as an indicator of the number of somatic cells. So how many number of somatic cells are there that are, it is done by ATP luminescence. It consists of 2 components: inline sampling and detection system designed for easy connection to the milk hose below the milking claw. Milking claw is what it is a component of the milking machine. So, and cassette containing the reagents for measuring cell counts is incorporated into the Mastiline. So this is a automatic mastitis detector. It will give you the figures, and milk is collected from 4 quarters. Milk is collected 4 cups, and it will give you an accurate somatic cell count, which will help in diagnosing mastitis. Then you can also use spectroscopy, visible, near infrared, mid infrared, or radio frequency, indirect identification through changes in the milk composition. Indirect identification through changes in the milk composition is done by spectroscopy. And you all might be familiar that AFI lab is a major company, and they use infrared to detect fat, protein, lactose, somatic cell counts, and may be more useful for detecting high somatic cell count counts than quantifying actual somatic cell count. And then biosensors and chemical sensors are also used, like the biological components like enzymes, antibodies, or microorganisms. And then enzymes like L-lactate dehydrogenase, it is released because of the immune response and changes in the cellular membrane active chemistry as a result of the mastitis. And chemical sensors, changes in the chloride, potassium, and sodium ions, volatile metabolites resulting from mastitis, haptoglobin, and hemoglobin. So this is biosensors and chemical sensors. And D-Level has come up with equipment called a herd navigator, and it measures progesterone in the milk, which will help in detection of the heat, and pregnancy detection also. So it measures the progesterone content of the milk, which will help in heat detection and pregnancy detection. And as I said, lactate dehydrogenase enzyme also detected by this herd navigator, and it will help in early mastitis detection. And it will also measure beta hydroxybutyric acid, BHBA, which is an indicator of subclinical mastitis. It will also detect urea in the milk when NPN is fed or NPN is excreted into the milk. That is also detected by this herd navigator. So this is just an indication. Female cow's privates aren't so private anymore with Anemone, a system that senses when she is in heat and takes an alert to the farmers. So this is a news item that came up. So cows, lady parts text farmers when it's time for a booty call. That is when it is time for artificial insemination of the cow, or even. So here you can see this collar around the cow's. So Anemone is involved in doing all this estrus monitoring, especially. As I've already said, estrus is very important thing. Without reproduction, there is no production, as they say. So reproduction is very important, and a farmer who is really interested in increasing his profitability and farm productivity cannot just afford to miss a heat. So technologies like these by Anemone and all, they will help in monitoring of the estrus very effectively. So this is a wireless intravaginal temperature sensor. It is inserted, and that sensor, it transmits the data. It transmits the data to the mobile network, and farmer will get an SMS alert that the animal is in heat, and accordingly action can be taken up either for artificial insemination or going for natural service with a bull. This is another technology that have come up by a company in Northern Ireland, Foresight Fion Technologies. So photosensitive optic beams across the barns. Photosensitive optic beams across the barns, and software recognizes cows IDs when cows cross the barn. So there is no physical barrier. There is no physical barrier, but there will be only photosensitive optic beams across the barns, and when a cow crosses, it will be detected. And estrus detection efforts in the US have increased dramatically in the last 2 years. Producers' experiences are positive, changing the way we breed cows, and only catches cows in heat, and it has a real economic impact. As I said, the estrus detection is very important as far as profitable dairying is concerned. So there are so many technologies that have come up in the US, and as they say, the farmers' responses have been positive. This is SCR, a company which is coming up with unique products in precise dairy farm. And this SCR-HR tag, it measures rumination time between cut boluses, and monitors metabolic status. So metabolic status is also monitored by this SCR-HR tag. Rumen pH is also detected by sensors, and rumen pH is an indicator of the illness if there is any shift towards either too acidic or too alkaline pH. And feeding drinking behavior is also monitored, and acidosis is monitored by certain sensors which are inserted into the rumen of the animals. And there is a well-known calving detection. So thermometer is placed in the animal, and thermometer registers temperature rise. And typical variation in the animal's temperature is there. The thermometer is expelled by the water bag, and calving begins. And at this point of time, SMS message is sent to the farmer. Calving is expected within 48 hours, and then thermometer expelled message is also sent to the farmers. And once the thermometer is activated, the animal's temperature is sent by SMS once or twice every day at the selected time. So that will help in farmer or the farm manager attending to the calving of the animal. Excuse me. Cow manager sensor is another sensor-based technology, and it will help in detecting the temperature, activity of the animal, which could be mobility of the animal, and also rumination, and also the feeding time. Feeding time is also recorded by this cow manager sensor. Then Alanya Animal Health has come up with animal health monitoring sensor. So this is what they call as precision health management, and which it will do through what do you call recording the behavioral changes, the temperature changes, lying and standing time recording, and grazing time, lameness, stress detection. So they're all coming up with sensors which will do all these things. And another technology is Rumi Watch. Rumi Watch will, what do you call it, will detect the rumination, drinking, eating behavior, lying, standing steps through the pedometer. Rumi Watch is a company which has come up with a noseband sensor and a pedometer. So it's like, as I've already said, it's like a Fitbit or a smartwatch, the Apple Watch or something that you wear, which will detect every moment. Like now we have Watch Series 7, which will detect your ECG also anytime. So heart rate, any abnormal heart rates are also sent. So similarly, these pedometers, they will help in detecting lameness at a very, very early stage. Then another technology, C-Lot Inc. It measures the methane emissions. As we have already discussed, methane is considered to be one of the culprit as far as global warming is concerned, because its potentiality as a global warming agent is much higher as compared to carbon dioxide. Both methane as well as nitrous oxide are very potent agents as far as global climate change is concerned. So this equipment will help in selecting cows that are more environment friendly. That is which see, there will be physiological differences between animals in what do you call in production of the methane as well. Like in human beings also, there are so many differences physiologically between individuals. So similar in animals, and this technology will help in what do you call selecting cows that are more environment friendly, which produce less methane, and it monitors impacts of farm changes on greenhouse gas emissions. Then another technology is step metrics, which detects a lameness at an early stage, like the pedometer. It detects lameness at an early stage. And then there are real-time location systems. Using real-time location systems to track location of the cows, especially in countries like New Zealand, where animals are predominantly reared in ranches, and they don't tie the animals. They will keep moving because they have a lot of area, and they keep moving. Then this will help in real-time location system. So better understand distribution of animals within the barns, information used to design better barns and modify existing barns, behavior monitoring, implications for stress detection, time at feed burn, social interactions. So GA cow view, this is another another sensor-based technology that has come up, which will detect the feeding time, waiting time, resting time, mounting time, and a distance covered in a day. There is another smart watch like the watch that we wear. So it monitors the 3D acceleration movement, which will help in measuring the behavior of the animal. Electromyogram to detect the muscle activity. Skin potential to see if there is any vegetative nervous reaction. Skin resistance to observe whether there is any vegetative emotional reactions, and skin temperature, environmental temperature to see how thermoregulatory activity is going on in the animals. So this is a watch that animals can wear around the neck. Here you can see. So here again, precision feeding. In precision feeding, what happens is when the animal passes through the access gate, the collar that is there around the neck of the animal that will send data to the feed hopper to give a message to the feed hopper how much feed needs to be fed to the animal based on its milk production, based on its activity, based on its physiological status, how much of feed needs to be fed, what is the protein percentage that needs to be there, and accordingly the feed will be mixed and fed to the animals. And automatic milking systems nowadays, even in India, many of the farms they're going for milking automation. Milking automation in a way is a boon to the farmers with all the uncertainties associated with manual milking by the laborers. So automated milking systems are, and these automatic milking systems are integrated into the farm for data collection, for detection of all these problems like the mastitis. So you have automatic calf feeding machines. You have calf feeding rails. Calf feeding rails are also coming up. We have some dairies around Hyderabad there. They are using all these technologies. As I said, even similar to cows or optimizing the feed efficiency, you have calf, how much of milk needs to be fed to the farm. So based on the ear tag, it has an ear tag, and when it passes through this access gate, that the ear tag is read by the scanner that is placed there, and it will have access to the nipple and the milk, how much of milk that needs to be fed to the calf is calculated, and exactly the same amount of milk is fed to the calf, so that it does not suffer from either from indigestion or diarrhea or something like that. And we have automatic feeding belts as well, like similar to what you have in poultry. Automatic feeding belts are there, and even freestyle alley cleaner. This is a very important thing nowadays. Labor becoming a critical component of the dairy farming. So automation into the dairy to what do you call improve the labor efficiency. So these freestyle alley cleaners, I have seen it being implemented in some of the farms, even in our state around Hyderabad. So cross gutter cleaner with chin. So these are all some of the equipment where probably the investment goes a little higher, but on a long run, they will be useful to the farmers. But again, having said all that, these economic considerations come because these technologies being in a very nascent stage, and their utility also has to be established over a larger farms in a larger area in more number of farms. So economic considerations are very important. So need to do investment analysis, not one size fits all. Economic benefits observed quickest for breed detection, reproduction. So that is one important thing, as I've been emphasizing over and over again, that timely heat detection, timely disease detection are very important. So benefit has been observed for sensors that are in the area of heat detection and reproduction. And if you don't do anything with the information, it was useless. See, the information is generated by the sensors, but at the end of the day, it is up to the farm manager or up to the farmer to implement or interpret the messages that have been given to him, and intervene to make the most of the information that you have. And systems that measure multiple parameters make more sense. So instead of having so many sensors that a cow or a buffalo wears around her, it's better that systems that measure multiple parameters is very important. and systems with low fixed cost work best for small farmers. As of now, we have this land holding size and the farm size is very small. So systems with low fixed cost, they work best for the small farms. And the sociological factors also need to be taken into consideration, like labor savings and potential quality of life, insufficient market research, and farmers will be overwhelmed by too many options. Which technology should I adopt? End up adopting those that are interesting or where they have an expertise with how useful is it, and not necessarily the most profitable. Some of them technologies may appeal to everyone, but they might not be of great value in terms of profitability. So farmer has to be very prudent in deciding what kind of technology he needs to adopt with respect to these precision dairy farming technologies, so that his what do you call management strategies can improve, his farm performance can improve. In an Australian case study, R&D tends to focus on the device rather than the management system within which the device will be used. And return on investment is only achieved through subsequent improvement in the farming system. And it is here that people are key. Not enough focus on farmer adaptation and learning. So that is why in initial stages, I said, when an ideal PDF technology is developed, then a farmer should be the stakeholder in development of such technology, so that from time to time he will what do you call warn, or he will suggest, or he will advise the technology developers on what needs to be incorporated, what is not required. So this is, I think we have already discussed about it. And coming to the future vision, so this will be a new era in dairy management, and exciting technologies are available and in development, and new ways of monitoring and improving animal health, well-being and reproduction. And these analytic tools will be a source of competitive advantage. Economics and people factors will determine adoption and success. Like with any other technology, economics is very important, and people factors, they will determine. With milking machines have come long time back, but still the adoption rate of milking machine is not that great in a country like India. So economics play a major role, and people factors. So many misconceptions are there that is milking machines suck blood. That is one of the major misconceptions that many of the educated farmers also have, and that is the reason that they go for manual milking. So these are all some of the people factors that also need to be addressed when recommending a technology. So with these few slides of what are all the technologies that are available, I can say that precision dairy farming definitely holds a promise. The premier institutes in the country, like even IITs, are investing their time and efforts in developing some of the technologies. I saw long time back, way back in 2012 itself, there was a tie-up between NDRA and IIT Delhi in development of such technologies. I think they were successful to some extent in implementing those in NDRA as well. So though the precision dairy farming is in a nascent stage in its infancy, but it holds a lot of promise. I think I have taken a long time. Thank you all very much for the patient hearing, and it's open for discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Sharat. It's really a wonderful presentation, and we have seen a lot of advancements in dairy. We are not aware of all these things. So sometimes, we have to listen to other sector also, then we know the real advancements happening in those sectors. Thank you, Sharat. It was a really exciting and very good presentation. Now I invite some questions from all whoever is attending. Any question, anything, no, please. Sharat, the question, one thing, what you're talking about, mass production instead of masses.
Yeah.
So does it fit in Indian system? Because our system is completely different. So many small farmers are there.
Yeah, right now the system that we have is production by masses. Right now the production is by masses, and I've already said that many of the dry areas which were hitherto not having irrigation facilities, lot of area is coming up under irrigation. So lot of area will go under agricultural expansion. So farmer probably might not be interested, because in the dryland areas where dairying was major source of income to the farmers, and going forward, it might not be the case. So that is the reason I said that it might diversify, it might become a specialized farming, may not be in the immediate future, but in the long-term future, it's likely to happen. That is my perception.
Sir, anybody, any question? Please go ahead.
Hello, sir.
Please
Yep.
go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Sarat, good morning. This is Pratap. I just wanted to know a typical costing of 100 cow farm to go for all these automated systems or detection systems rather. Do you have any idea, sir, how much, I mean, per cost?
Yeah, I have an idea.
There.
Yeah, I have an idea. If you are going for a Holstein Friesian farm, typically if the cost of the animal is about 1 lakh rupees, an animal which is yielding about 15 or 16 liters of milk per day, the cost of going for automation with total sensor-based technologies, it could be almost equal amount of the cost of the animal. So it will be 2 lakhs per animal.
Yeah, totally, including the cost of the animal and the automation system.
Yeah.
This includes the housing also, sir. Yeah, housing is a separate thing.
Housing, you might incur a little more on housing, but for all these robotic milking, feed alley cleaners and all, it could go up to 1 lakh per annum.
Yeah, that is yes, sir. Yes, doctor. That is a major problem.
Yeah, that is a norm that I have in mind. Yeah, that initial investment is a major problem. If we want to, this initial investment is a major problem. Only Chitale Dairy in Pune, you might heard
about it. Yes.
They are successfully implementing many of these technologies. Chitale, even in Hyderabad also we had Haveli, we had Kapila Agro Farms, where they have implemented some of these technologies successfully. But again, see, at the end, the cost of milk production and the remunerative price that farmer gets for the milk will define and determine to what extent farmer can invest on all these things.
That's true, sir. Yeah, exactly. That's what the point was. So basically, cost recovery will be a tough this thing.
Yes,
but
yes.
In Indian condition,
see how clean milk you produce. If that milk is not going to fetch you the kind of price that deserves, then there's no point.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Good day.
Okay. You're welcome.
So, anybody is there? Any question? No question. I invite Vijay. Vijay is there, please. Dr. Vijay.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Hi.
Thank you, Professor Sarat Chandra, sir, for accepting our invitation and giving your valuable time with us. And as you have discussed, use of technology in agriculture is increasing every day, and especially IoT and robotics are playing important role. You have explained very well, and these things enhanced our understanding or knowledge in the dairy sector. And thank you for joining and sparing your valuable time with us. And I also thank all the participants, not from DPR, Hyderabad and Bhubaneswar Center. There are some participants from other ICR institute and universities also. And lecture was very interesting. They have joined, and I am very thankful to all of them who spared their valuable time and got something from here. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining with us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.